Well, a very warm welcome once again from the lawns of the Nasrec Expo Center, where we continue with our coverage this morning of the ANC's National Conference. Now, a conference of this nature has, of course, sparked huge interest, not only in South Africa. South Africans eagerly awaiting following the developments here at this conference, but there's certainly been a lot of international interest in the conference, I guess, in the outcomes and who will become the next leaders of the African National Congress, also being, of course, the ruling party. Now, there's been a huge media contingent from across the world that has descended on Nasrec, reporting back, of course, to their countries on what is taking place here at Nasrec. And now I'm joined by two journalists from Tuso Kumalo from Studio 7, Voice of America. Good morning to you, and as well as Turkmen Terzi. I hope I pronounced that well, from all the way from Turkey. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Morning to you and to the viewers.
I was just speaking about how this conference has drawn so much attention. The world is watching what is happening here in South Africa, and particularly what is happening here at the conference. For your audiences back home, what is the focus of this conference, and what is it that you are here to find and report back to?
Studio 7 at VOA News is a Zimbabwe service. We are on Facebook and shortwave, so we are able to reach quite a number of large Zimbabweans inside the country and outside the country. As you know, Zimbabweans have over the 2 decades become South Africans. They really depend on everything that they do on here. Thousands of them have come to work here in South Africa, and they support families at home. So for them, whoever comes in as the ANC president and becoming the president in 2019 matters a lot to them. If they are able to create jobs, they are also able to keep their jobs. If they bring the economy down, their lives are also going to go down. And we've got about 200,000 Zimbabweans who are given exemption permits here in South Africa. So they are watching closely the policies of the ANC to say, are they going to allow us to renew the permits? We've got refugee Zimbabweans that are here also who came over the years because of the previous regime. Also, they want to see if the ANC is going to say there's no more crisis in Zimbabwe, go back to Zimbabwe. So they are very keen in looking at the story to say, what is it that is it for us? Especially the president who is going to be elected, and the team that is going to choose when he becomes into government in 2019.
Turkmen, Middle East, you are here as well, also covering, reporting on the conference, your interests.
Yes, actually I am in South Africa since 2009. I come here to cover World Cup and Mandela's life. So in Turkey still South Africa is famous for the Mandela. So this is one issue. Secondly, Turkey have big interest in Africa. Yes. Almost 40 embassy and Turkish Airlines, and President Erdogan visited 3 times last 2 years Africa. And also Middle East Palestine is very important. Actually, it was the Ottoman lost Palestine in 1917, so it is very sensitive issue, and South Africa is, I think, going to release some report on that. Last time they discussed. Also, another issue in the last policy conference, I also covered a call release Abdullah Öcalan. He's a PKK Kurdish leader. He is in jail since 1999. Actually, he was on his way back. He was coming to South Africa, but they arrested him in Kenya and extradited to Turkey. This is also a very important issue for my audience, my people. Also, I now represent TR724. It is almost 1 million followers we have. I was representing the Zaman newspaper, but shut down the President Erdogan. You know, the purge is going on. Also, I am covering this event as a media freedom activist.
So obviously, in terms of the international policies, as you mentioned, Palestine and the ANC's position on it, so that is really important too. And I guess obviously South Africa diplomatically as well, the trade agreements with a country, so that's also quite important.
Yes, is a very important. South Africa actually is a liberation movement is successful in South Africa. So whole world like oppressed people is looking South Africa. Is South Africa is an important country. Also for Turkey, like for some groups, oppressed group. Now is almost 150,000 people in the jail. Personally, all my editors in jail actually. So I am here and I feel strong because I cannot go my home anymore. Almost now 2 years because I wrote also some articles for the local papers. I am a critical of Erdogan regime actually under the state of emergency. Almost it reached almost genocide. It means people isolated, 17,000 women in jail with 700 babies. So I am here also. I am feeling strong with my solidarity with my media colleagues.
Thuso, as well, South Africa, the ANC has had a long relationship with, as a liberation movement with Zimbabwe, and I guess that too also adds to the interest that your country has with South Africa,
Yes.
particularly with the ANC.
Yes, obviously these are sister parties. They've been in the trenches together. When we got independence, they helped each other. Zimbabwe was here helping, and the ZIPRA, they were helping also in the fight. So the relations come from long back. And remember, because of that, once we've got a crisis in Zim, we always see the leaders here going in there and trying to solve those crises. So this is why our listeners are so keen to know exactly how this is taken away from the old part of relationship to this new administration that we have in Zimbabwe and the new administration that is going to come in South Africa.
Just in the build-up, of course, there was a lot that was happening, particularly for the ANC. It's been quite a bumpy road to you both, leading up to this conference. Just how the process has unfolded now. It's been a very peaceful conference. There's been a lot that was said that it could possibly collapse. There could be problems and troubles, but seemingly the delegates here have heeded the call of the ANC leaders to say it needs to be a peaceful conference. Your observations of how the conference has continued up until now?
I think it has gone very well, because in most countries, like in my country, Zimbabwe, when contestations are so hard like this, we saw what happened towards this congress that is happening in ZANU-PF. We started on Friday. I mean, a lot of changes happened because people were fighting brutal, but we have seen here people cooperating, and if you go into the plenary session, people are singing together, they shout, of course, but there's that peace, there's that moment of peace. There's a focus to what they want to achieve at the end of the day. So I think in fair terms, this has been a very, very fair conference in terms of coming out with the leadership that will take South Africa forward.
Tegman, your thoughts on it?
Yes, I think everything is very organized. But first time I was inside in plenary yesterday, situation was tense, but maybe this is the nature of the election. But I came, as I told you, before the Mandela, and those days people were, party leaders were more united. I hope things will be nice.
And of course, we're now awaiting the results. The world is awaiting. South Africans are now awaiting. We think we're in the last hours of I think it's nail biting as a South African, I guess, as the world awaits the results of this conference.
Yes, definitely. And for our listeners, they are so. One of them was WhatsApping me yesterday saying, is Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma going to make it? Because at least he knows our situation in Zimbabwe, what is going to happen. Others saying, no, Cyril, because we think he's so close to investors and the business is going to create jobs. So I think we also divided minds. Our listeners are also divided as to who is taking. All of them have got different interests, but we are hoping by midday we will be knowing the answers.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time. Certainly, we are now waiting. It's the crunch time, the final hours as South Africa, the ANC, and the world awaits who will become the next president of the ANC. We're going to go for a short break now. Do stay with us.